Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Coming with a blog post we want to share with you. Of course, review the latest in social media and technology. We have all the major phone companies sending us phones, so be sure to subscribe to the Chris Voss Show channels, our .com website, and our YouTube channel. Be sure to give this video a like, please, so that we can take and keep bringing you all the great stuff we're doing. This is the AT&T HTC One X Plus, the One X Plus, the popular, of course, HTC One series. This is the improved version of their very popular One X. And it's got a quad-core processor and a few other different features that are pretty cool that they've added into it. So this is another quad-core processor mobile unit that's been landing on the shores here in 2012 and really changed the dynamic of what future phones should be coming into the quad-core area. So let's talk about the specs of this phone. You can get it from AT&T.com. That's AT&T.com. Thanks to AT&T for providing the phones for us to review. The height of this phone is 5.29 inches, 2.75 in width, and 0.35 inches in thickness. It has a weight of 4.76 ounces. It has a display size of 4.7 inches on the screen, 720 by 1280 pixels, and 312 ppi. It's got 16.7 million colors, and it's got a capacitive multi-touch screen. It runs off the Android 4.1 system, so it's got Jelly Bean on it, and the Sense UI Plus. It's got a battery capacity of 2100 milliamps, which is very good. You need that for these quad cores. The system chip is a NVIDIA Tegra 3. It's a quad-core 1700 megahertz, which should be a 1.7 gigahertz, ARM Cortex-A9, and you're looking at 1 gigabyte of RAM, 64 gigabytes of internal storage. The camera is an 8 megapixel camera on the back, and of course you have 1080p, 30 frames per second on the back camcorder. On the front you have 1.6 megapixels. So you have that going on. And you do have an NFC chip, of course, in here, which is important to a lot of people and getting fairly popular. Now, I have a HTC One X that I've used, and I've been very happy with it. This is basically an HTC One X that's been improved in the inside. On the outside, everything about it doesn't look anything different or appear to be anything different than what's in my HTC One X. Several differences, of course, though, it has a quad-core guts in it, has the faster chip, and probably some better operational improvements of some type or another. But we'll go through and we'll test them, and you'll get to see everything. We'll show you the camera. Not much different, really. Basically they say that in the product. It's an HTC One X Plus, so they've added the plus. It's technically the same product, except for, definitely the interior has made a difference. So, what's even interesting, too, is it works with my HTC One X cases and everything else. One thing to note is that this does not have expandable memory with your expandable SD card that you can put inside of it. The battery is locked into the case. For some people, that's kind of an issue with Android. I'm not sure why. Now, there's so many backup batteries you can have nowadays. And then the other thing is with so many cloud services like Dropbox, who needs an SD card? I have a ton of them, and I never use them. Let's take a look at the device. It's got the Android, of course, on it, the latest Jelly Bean, and the UI, which is the HTC Sense UI. You can see here that it's got the swipe that goes back and forth. It does have, on this thing, infinite swipe. You can see the notifications menu that's here. Pretty plain, easygoing menu for the HTC menu. You can see here it gets a little bit more detail when you go into settings and everything else. Most people like the product on Android because you can make all sorts of different apps, widgets, and you can design all sorts of really cool things to be on your screens and everything else. Many people really like that, where they can take and adjust stuff, and they can make things appear pretty cool on their screen. You can see this is a widget here. So it has that, just much like any other Android phone would have in its features. On the top, we have your speaker for making calls, and we have a front-facing camera. We have a back button, a home button, and a recent apps button in a capacitive touchscreen. Phone is just exactly like my HTC One that I have. In fact, I would swear that they're using the same bodies they used before in the production of the HTC One, although I don't know that exactly. It does seem to be a little bit more comfortable. I like the feel of the back a little bit more than the HTC One that I have. But you can see here much the same design. We have the SIM card up here, the camera here, lamp flash here. We have this syncing technique that if you buy a holder for the HTC One, you have to get these from HTC. It's a basic thing that will slide in and sync and charge, and I think play movies and stuff through an internet connection or some sort of hookup, where you can use a cradle for this. So you could sync and charge through this if you bought those devices from HTC One. We have the Beats audio, of course, and we have the speaker, which does a great job on the speaker. Now, the Beats audio is a feature where if you plug in a headphone or earphones into the earphone jack, it will take and bring on an enhancement of sound, which is kind of like an equalizer, which makes the sound, basically sound a whole lot better. Now, you can turn it off if you don't like it. I tend to like it. I think it's great, and it makes the sound even better for a mobile phone. If you have the Beats audio devices, some of their boom boxes, some of their headphones and earphones, evidently it's designed to work and correlate very well with those products. On the top, you can see here we have a power button, we have a microphone hole, and we have the earphone jack that's there. On this left side, we have your sync cable for syncing and charging. On the bottom, we just have a microphone hole. And on the right-hand side, we have a large up and down rocker volume button. I noticed that I don't hit this as much, and I think they have made the rocker button either thinner or I think it sits in further. So I tend to notice that I don't hit it as much as I did with the One X. That's the one thing I do with the One X, is I hit it more. It also appears there's kind of a steely button at the top. It's probably just a chrome veneer or something like that. But I think on the One X, it's just plastic. So that was one difference of the device. It still feels really good in your hand. It's still very thin, of course, and very ergonomically correct, which makes it work really well. Okay, so here you can see the results of the AT&T speed test net. You can see here it averaged about 4.5, 4, something like that. You can see the upload speeds were very good. Now, one thing I do is I test out a lot of the hotspot tethering when I go for walks with my dogs. I take my iPad 3 and I go watch a football game or a movie or something that usually requires a lot of data, and I have my Netflix set up on the highest amount of data it can send to a portable device. So I test that out to see how well the device can act as a hotspot, a data share. Disappointed with the HTC One X. The HTC, or the One X Plus, I should say. The HTC One X, of course, was disappointing also. It's okay. It's going to get you data. It's going to get you stuff when you want to watch. If you want to just do your basic computer work, but when you want to watch a hardcore, heavy detailed movie, it really struggles to get you, non-pixelated screens, etc., etc. It does okay. I mean, it's not to say that it does a bad job of it, but it just doesn't do a great job of it. Certainly when I go for walks, I'll take other phones, and they will also be AT&T phones, because AT&T gives me the best up and down speeds. But the HTC One X doesn't perform as well as Samsung and some of the other phones that I like to take with me. Mostly the Samsungs, actually, when it comes down to it, will get me the speed that I take and want from my phones. The LG Optimus G, of course, does very well. So I was a little disappointed that with the faster processor, it's still not giving me great hotspot speed. And of course, you can see that reflected in the Geekbench 2 test score. So then it's okay. I mean, if you're not going to be watching movies or something else, you can live with it. Okay, now as you can see here, we came up with the Geekbench 2 score of 1590, and I think we've been in the 1600s from the ones we've done on this. They always vary, of course, depending upon what's going on in the background and ads and programs and apps and everything else. So, but we were surprised. It's a 1.7 gigahertz, 1700 processor. We were surprised that we weren't getting more speed out of it. But like I said, it's definitely improved, of course, over what the HTC One X was in its score. So it rates about roughly 1600, which is 100 more than the iPhone 5. But I was disappointed that it didn't get a better Geekbench score. Now, one thing we noticed, it does have quite a bit of battery burn. It burns the battery pretty fast. and we've noticed that it only gets us through half or 3/4 of a day. So you may want to tune down some of your applications and devices on this if you take and pick it up. It's got a quad core in it, but unlike some other UIs, there's not much controls for the quad core to kind of tame it back. Some of the different other UIs of companies out there have systems where you can move to a dual core, or you can do eco modes and stuff like that to dial it back. The HTC seems to run pretty heavy on speed, and it's a speedy little device, but unfortunately we didn't see as much speed as we wanted to see, especially with the quad core. We'll go through the different numbers here, and you can go ahead and pause these at any time so that you can take and see the results. Some people like to see them, some people don't. Now the apps we'll be using in this review, you can take and download on your Android device, and sometimes on your iOS devices, depending on what they are. You can pause the video at any time if you want to see the individual stats that we have listed here. And you can play along at home to see which video or app might work best for you. Alright, so here we're looking at the Display Tester app on the Android, on the One X Plus. You can see we've got great blues, greens, yellows, reds, everything, good colors on the HTC One X Plus. You can see here some of the other color tests as it goes through here and how it performs. It performs fairly well. I would say good, actually. Okay, so let's talk about the camera. It looks like it's pretty much the same camera that's on the other HTC One devices. There might be some improvements in it. I don't know. Specifically, you can see here, of course, you have the ability to have different quick settings, and of course, you can do all the adjustments like you can on just about any Android nowadays. Image adjustments, ISO, white balances, camera options, video options, all the different things that you can take and do. You even have the deal where you can take and put in different effects that are live effects onto place, and of course you'll be able to see them through the camera eye, and then see how the photos would come out in the end ahead of time. So you have that ability. You have the zoom in and out that you can take and do. You've got your shutter button here. You've got your video button here. Very simple, easy controls in the whole setup of scheme of everything. Photo-wise, it takes really good photos. I think I like the photos coming out a little bit better with the HTC One X Plus. They don't seem to have the manipulated yellow, greens, and blues that we saw with the HTC One series. So they may have changed some of that. Here you can see a picture I think we have on the wall. We'll give you some video. The colors come out really well in video and everything else. You'll probably see one of my dogs walking through the frame here, and picture that we're putting up. This is a great picture when it comes to color. You can see the colors come out really well. It's a low light situation. You can see here a photograph. You can see here a photograph with flash, which brings out the colors a whole lot more. A bit of a low light room, we had that in. Here is a completely dark setting, so we're testing how the lamp flash can take and light up an area. It does a fairly good job. It's got a bright light to it, and it tends to light up a room. We're in complete darkness here, so it tends to light up this whole room very well. And so it does a great job. You can, of course, see good color detail and everything else. Here's some snap photos of the snap flash. Those came out very well also. Okay, overall, the camera is very good, and I think I like the camera a little bit better than the HTC One X. That seems to be definitely improved. Okay, so here you can see our benchmarks with the amzn.to version 3.03 app. Came in at 15,975. Kind of interesting. A lot of quad cores we're seeing are coming in close to 20,000. So kind of disappointed it's not up there as much, but you know, it's still a good phone. You got great scores down the right hand side here that you can take and look at. Here you can see the CF Bench Pro version 1.2 benchmarks that we've taken guide. You can pause this at any time if you want. The main thing we're looking for, of course, you can see the scores down here, is the total overall score. Like I said, feel free to pause it any time if you want to see the scores. You can see the device tops on a list of other competing phones like the Galaxy S3, the Galaxy HTC One X, the Galaxy S2. So you can see here it definitely has some increased results over what the HTC One X did. Not by a whole lot. Like I said, it's probably about a 25% to 30% increase. Okay, so here we're using the Passmark performance test. You can see here the score to system 2063, the CPU test 10,495, disk tester 4,097, memory test 1259, 2D graphics test 2012. You can of course pause this anytime if you want to see the individual scores. 694 for the 3D graphics tests. Okay, now here we can see we're using the quadrant standard test. The device scored 6943. You can see quite a bit more over the HTC One X. These are varying forms of reporting, of course, depending upon which OS systems are on them. But yeah, you can see here once again about a 25 to 30% increase in speed and overall quality internally with the One X Plus. Okay, so here you can see the scores. We're using the benchmark and tuning app, and came in at 12,792, definitely way over the HTC One S and some of the other different ones. You can even see where the HTC One X came in according to the results of some of the things that compiled with this app's data. So it's definitely gotten a lot faster, at least 30% faster. Okay, so here you can see what we're doing is we're doing the GPS test. What this does is measures how well the device can get to an accuracy of 10 feet within and of itself and find itself on the planet, how many satellites it can pick up very well. You can see here it's getting a large number of satellites. It's got 19 in view, 14 in use, and it's able to find itself on the planet, which is the most important thing. Here with the billion counter test, it scored very well, did the count to a billion in 27.93 seconds, roughly 28 seconds, so that's very good. Here we're doing the KFS benchmark, and what this is a simple benchmark that's measuring the OpenGL 2.0 performance. You can see here that overall it scored frames per second, 28.633. Here you can see the RL Benchmark SQL Lite performance test. This tests different inserts, drop tables, index, things of that nature, simple processes within the phone unit itself. Overall, it scored 36.689. Here we have the Vloma scores. You can see this measures, of course, HTML and everything else, different devices inside of it. It comes in at 1769 with the Vloma score and 499 with the Metal score. Okay, so here you can see here is our AnTuTu 3D rating benchmark. It came in at 3354. Okay, so we're going to show you the results we got on the ANDE benchmark test as we always do. We've gotten a warning system from the ANDE bench saying it's having trouble with the cores or something of that nature. So we're just going to give you the scores and take that into advisement. With the ANDE, this covers native and Java threads. It came in at 6549 for the native and 185 for the Java. All in all, I've liked the device. I'm very fond of the HTC One products. We've seen a lot of great ones, the One X, the One S's, and everything else. And so this is definitely an extension beyond it. I wish it was speedier. I wish it didn't have as much battery burn. But other than that, it's a great phone. It certainly is a much better phone than the HTC One X, which is still very solidly on the market and being sold very well. So I'd highly recommend it. Other than that, it does a great job. It processes faster than some of the older phones that even came out this year. And it'll do the job for you in the future as upgrades come. I'm sure there'll be Jelly Bean more upgrades as it goes on through, and then whatever's next. So hopefully it will get those upgrades, which I'm sure it will, being fairly new here in the year 2013. So be sure to check it out. You can go to AT&T.com. That's AT&T.com. Say hello to our wonderful friends. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. Chris Voss tested, Chris Voss approved. Be sure to check into the ChrisVossShow.com often. Give us a like on this video, please, on YouTube. And be sure to check in all the time, because we have more phones coming from more different phone companies, and all the latest and greatest you want to see reviewed. We'll be doing comparisons with this phone also with other phones that are on the market right now, so stay tuned.